If you have to love the truth just to know if it is true, wouldn't you love to know if the essence of a thing begs to hear your tender wooing? Wouldn't you love to know?
Hello, welcome back to Live from the Vault, episode 6. This is from Psalm 40.
I patiently waited for you, desolate waiting for you, and you heard my cry, oh Lord. You pulled me from my bog and you set me upon a rock and made my steps secure, oh Lord. You put a new song in my heart, a new song of praise to my God. Do not thou, O Lord, withhold your steadfast love and mercy from me, mercy from me. Do not thou, O Lord, withhold your steadfast love and mercy from me, mercy from me. Told the great congregation the good news of your salvation. I could not conceal it anymore. Blessed are those who seek you, trusting your love they seek you, always saying great is the Lord. Put a new song in their hearts, a new song of praise to their God. Do not thou, O Lord, withhold your steadfast love and mercy from me, mercy from me. Do not thou, O Lord, withhold your steadfast love and mercy from me, mercy from me, mercy from me, mercy from me, mercy from me.
Thanks for coming back. It's nice to see you again, kinda. I wish I really could. I say this every time. I'm getting a little bit more used to, singing to a camera and imagining who's on the other side. But thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. It's nice to do these things. I'm glad we have the opportunity to do it. I'm just going to point out Jay Johnson, who you never see, but he's behind the camera, organizing all this kind of stuff. So give him a hand. And someday we'll show you him. He's not pretty, so we don't, but one day you'll see him. Also, Dave, just for a minute, can you give me a little bit more guitar? But folks, you can wave at Dave there. Is the camera working? That's my manager, Dave Zaglinski. Dave and I have been together for close to 30 years now. doing this. And years before that as well. I mean, he operated this studio as a commercial studio for a decade before we joined up in partnership on all things Steve Bell. We were buddies through all that, so this has been a long collaboration. It's coming up in a couple days to, depending on when you're watching this, if you're watching it live, in a couple days to Mother's Day. And so I thought I should do a Mother's Day song. I know I've been talking a lot about my mother in the last couple of weeks, and I thought I wouldn't do it, but then of course it's Mother's Day, so I should. And so I did write her a song. It's called Marie because that's her name. I wrote this as I think a good songwriter would consider this maybe an immodestly sentimental song. But I didn't. I wrote it for my mom as a present, as a birthday present, years and years and years ago. I think I had probably just forgotten it was her birthday and was stuck at the last minute and kind of threw together a song. But for writing it, I kind of went back in my imagination to when I was very, very young. And my mom's had a very difficult life that's been sort of besought by mental illness, anxiety disorder that has crippled her at various points in her life. But we didn't know anything of that in the early years. So this was sort of recalling the early years when I can just remember so tenderly who my mom was back then, and she still is tender and wonderful. But it's sentimental because I think it was before, in a sense, the darkness came. And Mom was a beautiful piano player and singer. She taught us kids to play. We had a family album called the Elf Bell Family Singers. You got that, Jay? I should show it to you. This was the album cover. We actually did a record. And it was called Come Be My Happiness, which is the title track was a song I wrote when I was 12. It's a very pious little song. I think it said something like, the lyric was, Lord, I am blind, please clear my mind, help me to see, come and comfort me, when trouble shall fill your soul. Something, I'm not reaching any kinds of goals. It was this whole, very, very pious, sincere song. I was 12. But anyways, we put the record out. But Mom taught us to sing. We traveled around a lot, and but my tenderest moments of my mom were listening to music, making music. I loved her, and I love her, and so this song comes from back then. And I know, and again, it's a little on the sentimental side, but that's fine. I think it's fine. And I also understand that this kind of sentiment is not everybody's experience of their mom, but it's mine. So the song is my own experience. There is another way of thinking about Mother's Day, and it's personal to me as well, in that for those of us in the Christian faith, our tradition has taught us in a way that the church is our mother, our spiritual mother. And it is the union of God and the church that has produced an offspring like myself or like other Christian people. And I was raised in the church, and I came to my spiritual life in the church. I was baptized in the church. In the Christian tradition in England, they have this thing called Mothering Sunday. And it's not like Mother's Day because it's not celebrating our earthly mothers. It celebrates the church. And on Mothering Sunday, you're supposed to go back to the church that you were baptized in. And of course, the waters of baptism are birthing waters, right? And so you go back and you celebrate your mother. You go back and visit your mom on Mothering Sunday, the church. And I did this without knowing it last fall, just before my father, or just after my father passed away. I went back to Drumheller, where I was raised as a kid, and to kind of walk around and remember different things about my dad. And I wanted to visit the church that he pastored. There's a Baptist church there. I think it was the Drumheller First Baptist Church. And so I went back to the church, I just wanted to go inside, and I knocked on the door, and the pastor opened, and I told him that my father had been a pastor there in the early 60s, and he let me in, and I walked through. And I wanted to see the baptismal tank, because that's where my dad baptized me when I was 8 years old. Have you got a picture there, Jay? I'll try to describe this to you. If you're not from the Baptist tradition, in the Baptist tradition, right, we go for a full dunking when you're baptized. You go right under. It's none of this sprinkling stuff, right? And so you'll see in the picture, I would have entered from the door across from the tank, and I would have walked down into that tank. It would have been full of water. My dad was in there. And to the left, there's curtains, and that would open, and that's right behind the pulpit. And that would open to the congregation, and I would be baptized in front of the whole congregation. And it's a profound memory of mine. And I remember coming out of those waters feeling very much that I knew I was a child of God, that I'd been born as a child of God. I just knew that. So it was a profound experience. And I went down to the basement of the church where I used to go to Sunday school. And I had all these memories of the songs we sang and the stories that we were taught. And I realized that so much of who I am was because my mother, the church, would sit me on her knee and sing me songs and tell me stories that have fashioned me. So that's another way of thinking about Mother's Day or Mothering Sunday, which is, again, different but kind of similar. And then finally, to think of God as mother. And we don't typically do that, but I think it's okay. In fact, I think we need to. Our scriptures are quite clear in a sense that, like, of course, in the tradition, we understand that we typically refer to God as Father. But Jesus himself, when he was talking to Nicodemus, he said, unless you're born again, right? Or you must be born again. And talking about how one enters into a new spiritual life. And, of course, born again is mothering maternal language, isn't it? And then later in Matthew's gospel, he's looking over a very troubled Jerusalem one day. And he says, "Oh, Jerusalem, how I've longed to gather you under my wings, like a mother hen. But you wouldn't let me." And Jesus is saying, you wouldn't let me mother you. So there's three ways of thinking about this day and this song, about our natural mothers, our physical mothers, about our church mother, and about God, who so longs to mother us. And heal maybe some of the wounds from other experiences. So, long intro for a short song. I wrote this for Marie. Oh.
Traveling over time and keeping the best in mind. There's a woman I've known, and I've called her my own for the longest time. The way she could sing a song and bid me to sing along, with the voice of an angel and a heart that enabled the best in me. There's a long road to the place she's living. It still seems as though she's always been around, loving me tenderly. How else can a mother be? I will always be her child, till there's no longer a breath in me. It seems just like yesterday, watching her children play. She put down her book and she gave me a look I remember still. She said with her hand in mine, will you be always mine? And will you still love me even when I am old and gray? There's a long road to the place she's living now. It still seems as though she's always been around, watching me tenderly. How else can a mother be? I will always be her child, till there's no longer a breath in me. There's a long road to the place she's living now. It still seems as though she's always been around, loving me tenderly. How else can a mother be? I will always be her child. There's no distance in the miles. I will always be her child, till there's no longer a breath in me.
I got there through that without crying. I'm getting bigger. That's from my mom. You know, when I was thinking about this day and other things I could do for Mother's Day, I was instantly reminded of a poem that Malcolm Guite, my English friend who I've done so much writing with, had written for Mothering Sunday in England, and it's another whole take, and it's a beautiful. And I thought I'd read it to you. It comes from this book, Sounding the Seasons, 70 Sonnets for the Christian Year. And like I said, in the Anglican tradition in England anyways, Mothering Sunday is an actual day in the church calendar, an actual Sunday. And so I thought I was going to read it to you. It's a beautiful poem. And then suddenly it occurred to me, why doesn't he read it to you? I know he's got a phone. And I called him in England just a couple of days ago. I said, Malcolm, do you think you'd have time to do this? And he said, why, sure. He'd love to. And so the next day this came. And so this is Mothering Sunday by Malcolm Guite.
Hello, it's lovely to be with you, if only virtually, and lovely to be joining in with Steve Bell again. Our long collaboration has been a great joy to me, and I look forward to the day when we can resume it in the flesh. But I know it's Mother's Day for you over in Canada, and Steve's asked me to share with you this sonnet I wrote for Mothering Sunday, as we call it. And it's particularly a celebration of those single parents who've perhaps been abandoned and have had to cope on their own and do the job of two. And it's quite a big ask at the best of times, but obviously to do so in lockdown must be extraordinary. And we really need to remember and give thanks for these people. Heroic parenting is always a heroic and an epic undertaking. And so this is for all of those who do that, and through whose love, perhaps, something of the love of God shines through to children. Mothering Sunday. At last, in spite of all, a recognition for those who loved and laboured for so long, who brought us through that labour to fruition, to flourish in the place where we belong. A thanks to those who stayed and did the raising, who buckled down and did the work of two, whom governments have mocked instead of praising, who hid their heartbreak and still struggled through. The single mothers, forced onto the edge, whose work the world has overlooked, neglected, invisible to wealth and privilege, but in whose lives the kingdom is reflected. Now into Christ, our Mother Church, we bring them, who shares with them the birth pangs of his kingdom. Thanks for listening.
Malcolm, that's so lovely. Oh my goodness, what a line, eh? Now into Christ, our Mother Church, we bring them, who shares with them the birth pangs of his kingdom. Only Malcolm writes like that. Gosh, thank you, Malcolm. I want to give you a little bit of a treat. I hope this is a treat. And it's again, I use Malcolm for this, is that I've got a new album coming out. I'm in the midst of recording it, and some of the songs are starting to get wrapped up now. We're coming to the end of some of them. And I want to play you one, like actually the album. We did Jay and I worked on a little lyric video for it yesterday, and I like it. I really like this song. I love the text, which is from a Malcolm Guite sonnet that came out in a book that he put out a few years ago called Parable and Paradox by Canterbury Press. And I had it at home and I was going to bring it to you and show it to you, but I forgot. So I've got a picture of it. Yeah. So that's the way the book looks. Anyways, Malcolm, I wrote this. I set this to music. I think over a year ago for sure, at least. And Malcolm, I guess, wrote it before that. So this is way before the virus and the pandemic. But you'd think he wrote it for this moment. So I'm going to read it for you, and then as soon as I finish reading, we're going to kind of hit the video, and you can watch and listen to this new song. This is going to be out on the new album in the fall. This is called "Because We Hunkered Down" by Malcolm Guite. Listen to this. These bleak and freezing seasons may mean grace when they are memory. In time to come, when we speak truth, then they will have their place, telling the story of our journey home, through dark December and stark January, with all its disappointments, through the murk and dreariness of frozen February, when even breathing seems unwelcomed work. Because through all of these we held together, because we shunned the impulse to let go, because we hunkered down through our dark weather and trusted to the soil beneath the snow, slowly, slowly, turning a cold key, spring will unlock our hearts and set us free.
These bleak and freezing seasons may mean grace when they are memory. In time to come, when we speak truth, they'll take their place, telling the story of our journey home, through dark December and stark January, with all its disappointments and the dreary work of February, when even breathing seems to be unwelcome work. But because through all of these we held together, because we shunned the impulse to let go, because we hunkered down through our dark weather and trusted to the soil beneath the snow, slowly, slowly turning a cold key, spring will unlock our hearts and set us free. Slowly, slowly turning a cold key, spring will unlock our hearts and set us free. Spring will unlock our hearts and set us free. Spring will unlock our hearts and set us free. Because we hunkered down. Because we hunkered down. Because we hunkered down.
So there you have it. That's a little bit of a sneak peek into the new album. Listen, folks. I'm really happy about this project. I love the songs. I love the way it's sounding. Murray Pulver is producing it with us. Just to let you know, we put out a Kickstarter campaign to raise money for the actual hard costs of the record, and we met our goals last week, so that's done. So thank you so very much for all of you that contributed to that. But we still obviously need funds to keep this thing going. It looks like we probably won't be doing concerts this fall, and so we're trying to get better at this live video thing. Maybe we'll go to once a month concerts or something, maybe longer. We're not sure. We're trying to figure this out. In the meantime, if you want to help us with our finances, you can donate to stevebell.com/support. Any donation over $20, we can give you a tax receipt for, and that just goes to pay our salaries and the rent here and all those sorts of things. If you don't need a tax receipt and you want to just like throw me a couple bucks, there's this cool thing online called Buy Me a Coffee, and you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Steve Bell Music. And it's just a neat little thing. You can click on it. You can buy me a coffee for $3, or you can buy me 2 cups of coffee for $6, that kind of a thing. And we introduced this last week, and lots of folks responded to it. And you can send me notes, and I can send you things. It's kind of a fun little kind of a gathering place that helps to raise money for artists like myself. So you can check that out. I want to thank Malcolm Guite for the poem and for doing that for us. I just want to say something about Malcolm. It was about 10 years ago, I think, I met him in England, and it was at a stage of my life that I kind of thought I had come to the end of my writing. I was drying up. I thought I had sort of written everything I knew 2 or 3 times and was getting awfully tired of myself. And then I met Malcolm, and he gave me new words. He new ideas, the way he operates, the way he uses language so musically. And I've written so many songs either directly using his poetry or inspired by his poetry, or even inspired by his lectures. I follow them online. So I just want to say that, that I've had a sort of a resurgence in my artistic career because of that. That connection has been very valuable to me. So I'm glad there's another Malcolm Steve song on the new album. I'm going to close with this. This is the Lord's Prayer, and the reason why I chose it for today, and this may be a little screechy. It's high, and a few years ago it was easier for me to do. I'm starting to have to change the keys of some of my songs, but it was written by my mom. And the music, obviously, not the lyrics. But she was a beautiful piano player and a beautiful singer. And when she played the piano, it was like water. There was a flow. She could just always flow. It was just so beautiful to hear her play. And one of my fondest memories of my childhood was that Mom would put us to bed when we were little, and we were supposed to fall asleep right away. Of course, I never would. But after she thought we were asleep, she'd often go to the piano, and she'd sometimes play till 2 a.m. She'd just play and play and play. It drove my dad nuts. I loved it. And I would wake up, from time to time, just sort of being bathed in melody. I'd wake up to melody and this beauty, and she'd play hymns, and she'd play classics, and she'd play, she loved My Fair Lady. She loved, oh my goodness, there was so much that she loved, and then she wrote beautiful songs. And this is one of them. And we sang this as a family band with my 2 sisters, Faith and Dodie, and my mom and I. And so I'll close with this. One last thing. I don't think we're going to do the concert next week. We're going to take a break for a week. I'm just kind of at a certain point in the album where I kind of need to focus and get it done. And so we'll be back the week after, if that's all right. So just watch for announcements. Thanks for joining me.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as it is in heaven, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our transgressions, as we forgive transgressors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Amen.
Happy Mother's Day.